Okay, we want to welcome everybody to the historic Carson House, place where many years ago county business was held, and since 1991 the Board of Commissioners have been meeting every October at this historic place in McDowell County to continue what our forefathers and ancestors did prior to us and have meetings here. So at this time we want everyone to please stand, and we always begin our meeting with a prayer and a pledge. Commissioner Tony Brown will lead us in our prayer night. Commissioner Brenda Vaughn will do our pledge.
Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you, Father, for all your many blessings. We thank you for this building here. We thank you for the history that this building represents and the people that you have working here that help to teach our citizens and our neighbors the value and the history of this wonderful building. And Father, we pray that you bless us tonight as we go through our meeting. We pray that you guide us in everything that we say or do. And let everything that we do, Father, be to uplift thy name, and let it be for the good of this county and for the citizens of this county. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, just for purpose of introducing our commissioners, we normally have our, at our normal meeting place, we have our name tags out on the desk. So I'll start and introduce for somebody who may not know who the commissioners are. Commissioner Lynn Green is over here. Good to have Lynn tonight with us. Commissioner Vice Chairman Tony Brown. I'm David Walker, Chairman Marion Peters, Commissioner Peters, and Commissioner Brenda Vaughn. This is our clerk to the board over here and our county manager right here. So we appreciate all these people that we get the honor to serve with tonight. Commissioners, you have the minutes from the September 9 regular session and the September 16th session with DSS. What's the pleasure of the board concerning the minutes?
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And if opposed, like sign. Okay, we have the agenda before us. Are there any additions or deletions by staff and or board members at this time? There being none, what's the pleasure of the board to adopt their agenda for tonight's meeting?
We would approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Let's move to the agenda. We have got a lot of things on the agenda tonight. And the first thing, though, is a very good thing. We have the esteemed Nakia Carson with us now. He is the principal at West Middle School. West Middle. Ms. Carson, come on. Where do they need to stand, y'all? Because we film every meeting, so just stand right over here. Okay. Nakia, if you don't mind, sir, come up. And we've got a distinguished honored guest, somebody who's achieved and done great things, and we want to recognize this person tonight. So you do the introduction, please, sir.
Okay. Like I said, I'm Nakia Carson, principal of West Middle School, and I'm here to honor Scott Page. He won an award for recognition of Hunter Safety Award. He started in our county in 2005. They started with the state in 2001. He is pound for pound the strongest man or person I've ever encountered in my life. He's the coach of weightlifting, and he coaches wrestling, and he's a winner. He wins everything that he touches. Right now we have a challenge going on. He was able to take pegs and go straight up a wall, all muscle. I tried it, I only made it halfway. That's what I'm saying, pound for pound, he's the strongest man I know. But we're here to recognize him for all his work and dedication to our students in the honor of the Hunter Safety Award, which he won, and I'll let him tell you the rifle that he won in the honor. So thank you so much, Scott Page, for all that you do for our county and for our students.
Scott, come on up, sir. We're so glad you're here tonight, and thank you for those kind words, Mr. Carson. Scott, turn around and tell everybody what you did and what you shot with, and anything else you want to add.
Well, I've been a hunter safety instructor, I think, since I said like 2005. Kind of got introduced to it and love it. I think all kids need to learn to handle firearms. I think it's a life skill. There's firearms in almost every single home. I don't so much do it to teach hunter safety because I know some kids don't like to hunt, but I do it for the life skill of, knowing how to handle a firearm. Like I said, most homes do have one. I got the award. I was not expecting it. I was called. In fact, I wasn't even going to go to the presentation they were having. I already made plans with my son, And he called me 2 or 3 times, and the third time he said, "Man, you're at Ford, you gotta be there." He said, and I said, "All right," so I changed my plans, and I went up, and I got a Golden Boy Henry rifle. I was very honored. I was not expecting it, so it's been a blessing, and I enjoy teaching it. I enjoy working with kids, and the kids that pass the hunter safety test, we take up to the range of a Nebo and let them get hands-on experience. They shoot 22 rifles, they shoot shotgun, we let them, somebody stand over and shoot handguns. So they kind of learn how to handle everything safely. So I enjoy teaching it, and we'll continue to teach it.
Okay. For the record, the 2018 Southern Mountain Zone Instructor of the Year, Scott Page. Now, comments or questions by board members?
I'd just like to say that I met Scott when I was a school resource officer at West, and he is everything that Mr. Carson describes him to be. He loves the kids, he has their best interest at heart, and he does his best to teach them those things that they're going to need when they grow up. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Let's send him give Scott a round of applause, everybody. What he's done. Scott, anybody that takes the time to help kids, that's a great thing. Kids are our future, our best resource, and this board fully supports what you're doing, and kids need to understand safety, gun safety, just the general knowledge of gun safety. So thanks for all you're doing, and congratulations on your award. My friend, on behalf of the board, we salute you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Nakia, thanks for being here tonight. At this time, let's move to our next item on our agenda. So we're just a little bit ahead of schedule. Let's go down and pick up a couple items real quick. Let's move, Mr. Wooten, if you don't mind, we can do item A under old business. This will be water project updates. Go ahead, sir. What's that?
So last month I mentioned to the board that staff would have 2 meetings, I think that same week, on our water system. We met with one engineer to talk about our intake project. This is a project we've been working on for a very long time, but this would have an intake placed on Lake James and a water treatment plant built along with that. We had paused that project about 2 years ago based on some funding we had from the federal government. There was a time window that was closing, so we had to shift that money towards the Stacy Hill project, if you recall. And so we want to get that project going again on the intake permitting. And so we've met with Duke Energy, Terry Hoyster, who is here in the building, and I and Pam, his water supervisor, met engineer. The next step with that is the engineer's working up a document. It's called a conveyance application that it will be put together and submitted to Duke Energy. Duke Energy will review it and hopefully approve it. Once the conveyance permit is secured, we can then apply towards the FERC that regulates that lake to move forward with the intake permit. The goal being to have all the permitting aspects of that project complete, and then when this board and everyone else that runs Minning and that sort of thing says the time is right, we'll be ready to go. But we had that intention a couple years ago, but our timeline just kind of ran out with a grant tour. So I worked on that. I met with a different set of engineers a couple days later on water extensions. And so again, for the Nebo system, we're looking at a section of streets, neighborhoods, etc., to bring back to a recommendation. And so we've been doing some field analysis for bringing back a recommendation, hopefully next month, on an area that makes sense, sort of business-wise, a number of houses, businesses, or whatever. And so we'll bring that back and get a board endorsement. Keep that moving. So,
Mr. Wooten, what's the timeline? What's rough? How long before on the conveyance application to do? What's standard protocol time? Have they given you an indication?
he said a conveyance process with Duke should take less than 6 months. There are new, I don't know if you recall Wade Harmon, he worked Lake James for a very long time. He had recently retired, and so he has a replacement that is new to Duke and new to this area at least. And so they're having to work through all that process, but he felt no longer than 6 months we should have that.
Good deal. How about the FERC application? How long for that?
That will take quite a bit longer because it's going to Washington and to Gold at least. So that's a very long process once it goes to Washington.
Then once it clears that hurdle, as you said, the board could look at a water filtration plant.
Right,
correct?
exactly.
Okay, other comments or questions? There being none, let's move to item B. This will be the Backcountry Trail Program. Mr. Wood, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. You could treat this as information for us. So last month, you heard a presentation from a gentleman named Jason McDowell. He is the camp director for Camp Greer. He had mentioned that he and others are starting a program for backcountry trail maintenance. This is mostly, or maybe exclusively, on the Pisgah National Forest, where right now the U.S. Forest Service has limited staffing and ability to maintain the backcountry trails. And so they're following a model from the Brevard area to have essentially a nonprofit propped up that would oversee volunteers, inmates, or whatever else that could go out and maintain these trails. There wasn't a dollar, he asked the county for a contribution. There was not a dollar amount attached to that ask. Did ask him to give a dollar amount to at least present to you for information again. You have that in your packet. He's asking for $20,000 contribution. That would be in next year's fiscal year 21's budget. So I spoke to the chairman earlier about it. You've got plenty of time to think about it, decide on it. You don't have to make a decision tonight is the point, but that is in there. Wanted to make sure we were following through. We could take direction tonight or sometime later as we get more into the budget process if you'd like to do that.
Okay, comments, questions by any board members?
Is that a reoccurring expense?
He didn't indicate one way or the other. Looking at the funding sources he has down, I don't see a built-in stream of funding otherwise. So I'd lean more towards it would be a reoccurring request than one time.
Mr. Chairman, I make most we table this until we get a little closer to the budget.
Okay, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay. All right, this time we move to our next appointment item, Commissioners. That'll be item B, the Building Inspections Department update. And we have our director of that department, Mr. Jay Suttles, with us tonight, the Honorable Jay Suttles, might I add. And we hear you're doing a great job out there. We have, you're right. We have only had 200 complaints in the last 6 months. No, just kidding, none.
Great.
I've got 0 complaints. So go ahead, sir. We're glad you're here tonight. Welcome to the Carson house.
Well,
I would say the boardroom, but we're at the Carson house, so welcome here. So the floor is yours.
Well, first a quick update. A lot has happened since July 1st. We hired a permit specialist, which she's in charge of permitting, and she's just taken control of the permitting and inspection software that was approved of. And thank you for that as well. It's not live yet because there's been a slight hiccup in our matching of the GIS information and the engineering involved in the system because it ties so much with that. But they're working through that, so it should be any day now actually. So that'll be great. We've also increased our office hours, which was a big help by having Lachey in the office. Actually, she's just an excellent person. And as you know, when somebody comes to permit it, they maybe aren't aware that they don't have everything they need to permit. If they need information from other departments, all kinds of things. So that individual is kind of a tour guide as well, so they can direct them into who they need to go see before they come back to us. So she's absolutely wonderful in that. and you approved for another inspector. And so he starts actually on Wednesday. And I don't know if you know Kenny Green. He's a local guy that I think is going to be a great asset. He's really excited about coming to work, getting his certifications, and starting that whole process, which probably leads to why I'm really here, and that's the incentive plan that I'd like to see if you'd look at and put something in place, because there wasn't anything as far as I could see incentives for these guys to pass tests. It's a problem across the state though, giving them incentives on why they need to do better and to pass testing. And so another local department enacted something similar. Of course, our starting pay is what wasn't a real enticing to people to come to McDowell County. It was a little low compared to some of the other jurisdictions in western North Carolina. So I used that same figure though. Kenny was willing to take that starting pay, but he's really excited about seeing if he can make more money here. We don't want to see him leave, and that's what this plan sort of takes that starting number, and then, as you know, or maybe you don't know, certification, there's 4 different trades, 5 if you include fire. This would just be the 4 trades that are required for the building inspectors. They can also get that 5th if they choose to. It would also add to their salary, but it would give them some sort of incentive as soon as they pass that test. And then, as you see then, it would also affect, I guess, current employees to a point. And that years to get those levels, like myself, a level 3 in all 5 trades, you can do it in less than 8 years. If you really try, you can actually do it probably in 6 if you really, especially those only 4 trades. So it would affect to a point. We have one employee that's been here 15 years and still at his level 1 on a couple of trades. He has level 2s in a couple, so his current pay is more than what it's listed at on this scale, so.
Because you're objective.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then our other inspector that is still working on his level 1s, it would be an incentive for him to pass that level 1, that final, to be able to bump up to that next pay scale. It would really help. So.
And you're saying, Jay, that there's a problem in hiring people because of the competitiveness of this in the state?
Yeah.
All counties are looking.
The industry.
Mm-hmm.
The inspectors are one thing, but the trades, and you that are in the industry know that it's hard to find good help nowadays. So typically inspectors come out of the trades. So right now they can make so much money working right now. The industry's just booming, so why come out of that to make what you could make as an inspector?
And we see that Lease on the McDowell Rutherford Health Board, and they have a hard time hiring the inspectors for that.
Yeah.
And they're having to really just ramp up what they're doing and offer incentives just to get people to fill the slots.
Since you mentioned Rutherford, that's what Rutherford, I just spoke with Shane, the director of Rutherford County. They just hired a level 1 at 37 is what the start was there. Couple
Which is
counties to that.
5,500 more than what our level 1 starts at.
Correct.
And they live right beside us.
Yeah.
One thing about this, you know, and I'm all for the incentive, I've been an advocate for getting our county employees' wages up from the beginning, but this particular situation here, you know, and it's made clear to the employees when they're hired that they have so long to get these, and if they don't get them, then of course they lose their job automatically.
Exactly.
But make it that clear to them, I do like the idea of offering an incentive to maybe help boost their interest in getting it done quicker.
Well, and that's what Kenny, he'll start as a probationary level 1s across the board. With that probation, they increased it on a state level because there has been trouble passing tests, and that 2 years, what it was, they increased it to a 3rd year, so that's what Kenny's contract will say, that he has 3 years now, because that's what his probation will be. So it gives them more time, but they can do it. He'll be able to test as soon as 6 months with a supervisor. So that's what, all of them have that ability to test sooner, so.
Other comments, questions? Ashley, what's the recommendation of staff regarding this request?
We've looked at it, and Jay and I have talked quite a bit about it. We have to be competitive. He mentioned Rutherford County. They're a little bit bigger, but it's still a pretty big jump for not that far of a drive for folks. So being competitive in that area is something we've struggled with for a very long time, and whatever this board can do to help get good people will be appreciated.
Okay. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
We approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. All right, okay, good deal. Jay, thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Seriously though, we hear good things about
Good.
the response time and how friendly your staff is, and so thanks for all you guys are doing. You do a great job.
Great, thanks.
All right, let's move to our next item. We're still ahead of schedule. Let's go to item A under new business. This will be board appointments, and Mr. Brinkley, our library director, has an opening there. This is the first reading, right? So this is the first reading. This will be received by commissioners for information. As what we do, we vote on the second reading, so we'll vote next month on the vacancies for the library board, okay? Let's go to item B. This would be the West Court office lease renewal. And Mr. Wooden, go ahead, sir, and lead us out.
Thank you, sir. A year ago, it's hard to believe, but last year the board approved lease for office space on, as it says, West Court Street.
Tell everybody what building that is.
Right. This was the half of the old Dameron and Bergen building there on the hill. We had just learned, to give a little bit of context, we had just learned that the General Assembly had created a public defender office for our county and Rutherford, the combined district. And we really had nowhere to place that function. It's about a staff of, I think about 6 or 7 people, nowhere to put them. Rutherford County had the same issue, wasn't something we could plan for, et cetera, at the time. So we were put in touch with the property owner of this space, and we made contact, and it was a former attorney's office, so it was a great setup for a public defender, which is an attorney, and the board okayed that lease last year for 1 year. So fast forward to present day, in the meantime, you have approved the renovation of, or creation, I guess, of space in the former first level, the parking deck underneath the new courtroom. That was not part of the original courthouse project. It was just going to be open space, more or less. Again, when this became a reality, we adjusted to that, and you authorized the addition of that space as part of that project. That space is almost finished and ready for occupancy. But the way that project is going with the courthouse, where we're moving existing offices out into swing space, as we call it, we're not ready to move the public defender yet. It'll be a few months. So right now, the clerk of court will be in that space, a part of their office. So we still need this space on West Court for the public defender. Now, will it take a year to move them? Hopefully not. But with all the projects and moving we're having done lately, I can see where we will probably have full utilization of this space for the next year. So we did ask if they would do a month-to-month lease, and they will not. So a year is a minimum they would do. And we think it's at $930. It's still a good value for the county for the space it provides. We recommend renewal.
Okay, comments, questions?
Just for the record, and a lot of people don't understand, and I've been questioned about this before, but we are required by the state to provide facility for these public defenders. So for those that didn't know that, that's a pretty important thing to know.
That's unfunded by the state too. We have to pick it up.
Okay, other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the lease. Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Let's move to item G under new business. This will be the Glenwood Parade Road Closure Ordinance. They have a good parade in there every year, so Mr. Wood, lead us out of this.
Yes, sir. Several years ago, we were contacted by the Glenwood Ruritan to ask for assistance in this process. It's a new process, at least to us, where this board is asked to close a state road. In this case, the old Glenwood, or old 221, I'm sorry. They're adjacent to the school for the parade. There will be a plan presented to DOT that indicates detour routes, signs, etc. But the first step is to actually have the closure ordinance.
They come to us every year for this thing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go ahead and approve.
Second. Okay, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay? Let's see, Mr. Wooten, we have got a 4:30. Now let's go ahead and let's take, under new business, let's take one more item here. Let's do the tax matters. Item F.
You have the typical releases, refunds, etc. I looked through and did not see anything out of the ordinary. But if you have questions, of course, and always table one.
Hey, Commissioners, we have had this information, and I'm sure y'all have reviewed this. What's the pleasure? Are there any comments, questions first? What's your pleasure, Board?
Motion to approve release.
Second.
Okay, got a motion, second, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay. Let's move to item C at this time. This will be our transit public hearing and update. And we have Mr. Randall Conley with us here, somewhere in the house. Mr. Conley, good to see you, sir.
How you doing?
Good to have you here tonight, and you're here to talk about transit items, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am. We want to talk about the FY21 applications we'll be applying for this year. Those funds, we have our administrative and our capital funding, which our administrative fund will be applying for $168,869. Which would give us our local share being $25,331. Our capital this year, and those administrative funds, those covered, administrative salaries, office supplies, and any other administrative items. The capital funding we'll be applying for $195,000 with a local share of $19,500. And those funds will be spent on replacing our last vehicles. This year we'll be replacing 5 vehicles, which we have a fleet of 11. So we will have 8 replaced at the end of this year. And so next year we'll be looking to replace our last 3. And so that way we'll be able to either look to purchase expansion vehicles or use those funds in other capital categories. With that, and also, like I said, we'll be applying for some vans. We'll be looking to get some more vans that'll hold more people, lower top type vans, looking to seat at least 13 at the least, and maybe probably look at one that may seat more. But we're looking at those. Right now, this year, we're going to be replacing our next 3 vans. That's going to be 3 lift vans, and then we have 2 vans that, just more suitable for public without the wheelchair. So,
Do you have dedicated routes?
dedicated route, yes, we do. We have we have routes specialized for senior center, foothills, and those folks which are are big contributors when we have dedicated routes to Medicaid, which will be transformation from in February with one carrier and all the other folks. We also will be looking to kind of get this route started up. We have applied for the Gateway Foundation grant, and we're looking, if we get funded, we'll be able to get some more staff, part-time staff, that we can kind of dedicate slowly to that route, and that grant will be applying for about $400,000 roughly over a course of 3 years, and we'll be looking to receive 2 vans in the first year if we're funded to award the grant. We'll look to get 2 vans in the first year, add on 2 part-time staff, 4 part-time staff, and as the 3 years go along, we'll maintain that staff, those 4 part-time people. And year 2, we're looking to get like a SUV type vehicle for out-of-county transports for folks that's going out of county to Raleigh and stuff like that, to give them a more comfortable, suitable ride and stuff like that. And in year 3, we'll be maintaining that. We'll be maintaining those 4 employees, and we will be getting monies for fuel maintenance and all that good stuff in the year 3 to close out that grant. So if we're awarded that grant, it's looking like it'll be promising. The Gateway Foundation is a lot of entities in the county has been applying for that grant, and a lot of them tied into transportation, their projects that they're liking to apply for. So I feel like we have kind of an advantage with us in transportation, helping the other projects.
Comments, questions? At this time, I'll go ahead and declare the board in a public hearing setting to receive comment concerning information Mr. Conley has given our transportation director, and that is per North Carolina General Statute 136. So does anybody here that's present wish to comment on anything you've heard from Mr. Conley tonight? If so, just state your name, and we're very glad to hear you tonight, okay? We'll start on this side of the room, work our way around. All right, anybody out there? Okay, nobody? All right.
Motion to go public hearing.
Okay, motion to go out public hearing. Second discussion, all in favor say aye. Okay, now, board members, any comments or questions from Mr. Conley? One thing, Mr. Conley, the board definitely wants to see this become self-sufficient and as rapidly as possible. That way we can run this thing at a profit. I know Rutherford County runs theirs at a profit, so that's the end game goal for our board, to try to make this thing, provide a service and do it efficiently, which is being done, and with it not bring it down, but pulling it up is what our goal is.
I'd just like to say that I'm excited about our transit system, and we're glad we have it. And I'd also like to say, reiterate the fact that the Board of Commissioners have been pushing this for many years. You can hear everything in the world out in the public on who may have been the one that pushed this or started this. This happened because of the Board of Commissioners. And we're very proud of it.
Other comments, questions? All right, Mr. Wooten, anything you want to add?
Just that you have a resolution authorizing application.
Motion to approve the resolution. Transportation fund.
Discussion, got a motion, second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay. All right, Mr. Conley, thank you, sir. Keep your work down. All right, yeah, let's see here. This time we'll move to item C under new business. This will be the planning ordinance discussion. Mr. Wooten, if you want to go ahead and lead us out, sir.
Sure. Mr. Harmon is in the foyer due to space, but he is here. We have had over the last couple of months, there's been quite a bit of discussion about several of our ordinances need revision that you've heard about, like the Lake James ordinance and different ones. as part of that discussion, there's been some question about the Board of Adjustment and exactly what that is. And so we essentially put in the information, the general statute that references what a Board of Adjustment is. So right now, the Planning Board, per our ordinances, serves as a Board of Adjustment. And so if there is a variance request for many of our ordinances that are related to that, it goes before what looks like the Planning Board, but they're putting on a different hat as the Board of Adjustment. Some of you have been on that board and understand that firsthand. So in that instance, it's a quasi-judicial entity where they hear someone giving essentially testimony about the case and describing why they think they need that variance based on facts. And looking at the statutes and researching before we get too far ahead of ourselves and some of the recommended changes in the ordinances, we wanted to talk about the Board of Adjustment item. Again, right now, it's the Planning Board that serves as that. The state law allows you, this board, of course, to set how that looks. So it could be this same board as you set, just with a different hat on again, like the Board of ENR, or you could set up any different function that you would like, the same that you've got or different. And so we wanted to get a little bit of clarification, I guess, is the question on what to put in some of these ordinances as we're moving forward. That makes sense.
Okay. Mr. Harmon, come on in, sir. Here. That's our imaginary podium for today. Over here. Sorry. There you go. Just imagine you're at the podium now. Yeah, so we're good with that. Anything you need to add to that? You're our planning director slash, what's the official title? Deputy County Manager. Okay.
Now, Mr. We can cover it well. We're looking for some direction on which way to move.
Okay. Comments, questions about board members?
Has there been someone that had a problem with the way it's working now, or is we just visiting?
Yeah. I think there's been several problems with the way that it's been working, and personally, I feel like when it comes to the change of ordinances or regulations, so to speak, that this board should make that final decision. That would. Because sometimes, what happens, in my opinion, we can approve something, on the planning board that could essentially establish a precedent that could come back to haunt us at a later date and time. And I think it would. I think that this board, our commission board should always be aware of what is going on and the decisions that are made, the final decisions that are made in this area.
And we did have, the other day, just discussing ordinances, their chairman, which is Dennis Whitson, Ashley, myself, and the vice chairman met with Benny Stamey from that board also, just talking back and forth about what, they got so much going on. Ron and those guys, they have got so much going on with the growth that's occurring in McDowell County, and specifically around the lake. There is a lot of growth happening around that lake. And so this was brought up at that meeting for informational purposes. And, Mr. Whitson, who's the chairman of that board, he sort of liked the idea, I believe. I don't know what his mouth, but we had a discussion about the commissioners. Right now, when we do a reevaluation, we become the I won't say Board of Adjustments, I've got that in my head now, but the Board of ENR. And so we put a new hat on for that. So what Commissioner Brown's is saying is this, and we talked about that the other day, that ultimately, the planning board, if they make a decision, it's any liability is going to be on this board, regardless. We assume all the liability for anything they do. So why not just us be the Board of Adjustments? And with this was brought up with the chairman of that board being on the Board of Adjustments also, and a member of their board who they desire to be on there. And that way you'd have 5 commissioners and 2, their chairman, and 1 board member that would become the Board of Adjustments. That way, we don't know specifically all the background information, and it was talking about Ron being sort of the Ashley to that board to give advice and to be there for that. And so just a lot of growth going on, and then a couple variances that there might have been some question about, and just a way to
That would still give the planning board a vote.
two votes
Yeah.
with our chairman and whatever other board member. So that's sort of what's driving behind it, just trying to make sure that if we're going to assume the liability for any decision, we might as well be at the table. And they seem to be receptive of that, because they would still make recommendations to our board on everything, ordinance related, as we've been doing it for years, and just with the one little twist that the Board of Adjustment would be 5 commissioners and 2 board members over there. Does that sound right, Ashley? You were there in the
I
meeting.
think that covers it.
Is that right, Ron?
Yes, sir.
They talked about also the board, our board, and what we would like to see contained in the ordinance. And myself, Commissioner Brown, just said, look, y'all are the planning board. Y'all make the decision and vote on the document, then send it to our board as normal. Then our board will review it and get with you with questions we have moving forward. So that's about the gist of that meeting, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And it's all about just protecting the county.
And one thing that really perked their interest was, I said, do we have, I asked Mr. Wooten, I said, now, if you make a decision, because this is the next, that Board of Adjustments is basically, this, if somebody is denied the approval of the variance they're requesting, their next recourse is to go to the Clerk of Superior Court. And I made a comment, I said, Mr. Wooten, I said, now, we need to see if the Board of Adjustments, which is the planning board currently, are they covered if they were sued? I said, what would happen if somebody didn't like their decision? I said, they're going to sue you. And I said, is there insurance that is contained to cover them individually? Now, they said real quick they all want to resign the planning board at that point, that was no insurance to cover decisions they were making. Is that right, Ron?
Yes, sir.
So they're I think their antennas are up now on potential liability.
Okay.
So that's what's one of the big drivers. Other comments, questions?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Ashley, what's your recommendation?
I think
You
if
want
that's the
clarification?
direction of the board, I feel a consensus, perhaps, I need a vote, but we would have to go through, and we've identified the ordinances that potentially could be affected. That might need a little bit of tweaking of the language, but we'll have the final set next month. You do have a list in your packet, but we'll make sure we talk to the county attorney and so forth.
So we don't need a vote tonight.
We can make a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve contingent to what you get back to us with on what the attorney and everybody says on this.
Okay, motion second. Just for clarification, and that's exactly what we talked about, where you have 5 commissioners and 2, the planning chairman and their 1 board member at large. Okay, all right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye, any opposed, like sign. Okay? All right, Mr. Harmon, thanks. Okay, let's move to our next item on our appointment schedule tonight. And we have Mr. Terry Poyster somewhere in the historic Carson house, always right there in front of us. How do you miss that smiling face? Well, Steve Bush's orange shirt's behind us. All right, come on up here, Mr. Poyster. Good to have a chamber director too here tonight. Now, Terry, you're here to talk about the animal services being offered in McDowell County, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity again to bring you a good update. Our animal services continues to prosper. I'm happy to report to you that right after our open house event a couple of weeks ago, we've crossed over the 500 adoption mark this year, and so we will very well be close to 600 by the time. And I'm proud of our staff, but I'm proud of our operations of how it works. Thankful to the citizens of McDowell County that have an interest, that want to come out and support that and look at what's available. So we want to continue that. We want to be able to help that 2 ways. First off, Mr. County Manager, eating preference, which one the hour update or the?
Maybe the hours.
Okay, we'd like to request your permission to review the current hours of our operation. We've reviewed that over the last couple of months, looking at how the public comes in, looking at how rescue agencies come in, looking at our veterinary service hours, and how we can better that process. Currently, it was just basically open Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 3:30, and Saturday 8 to 1, closed on Sunday. But not only is there an impact to the public, there's an impact to the animals. So we're asking that we could change those hours over to being closed on Monday. Monday, right off the first of the week, it allows time for veterinary care on the animals, and the animals need de-stressing time from the weekend and activities of people viewing them, people spending time with them. They get wound up just like humans do, and they need time to rest and re-energize and be ready for a fresh week also. It provides at least one day of the week that we're completely closed to do what we call a deep clean process, to clean from top to bottom, floors, walls, kennels, holding areas, and be ready for a new week of public coming in. It gives us the time to do that without public coming into that trip hazard exposed conditions of the cleaning process. It allows us a good day to schedule ahead of time veterinary treatments for the animals, and we can do that on Mondays when it's closed. We're asking for Monday to be closed, Tuesday 10 to 4, Wednesday 10 to 4. Thursday would be an extended day from 10 to 6. And then Friday 10 to 4, Saturday again another extended day, 10 to 4. And then again closed on Sundays. Sundays we come in, only feed, clean briefly, and then take care of the necessities there at the shelter and ready for new week. But we'd like to provide those extra hours for the public to be able to come in. A lot of people don't get there till after work. You've got to, you screen people and you ask people, what could have changed how come you weren't able to make it here? Saturdays, when we're currently open till 1 o'clock, most people are not getting up, moving till sometimes mid-morning and thinking about an animal. You just don't wake up one morning and say, let's go get an animal. You think about it and you study it and you look and you talk about it, and then you make a decision, let's venture down there and go look, and we want to make it available to them. It would provide better hours for the staff, again, to do their processes, transport of animals, all the health care that's done. So the staff hours would change also. We would change staff hours daily. Basically, you'd have staff there at 8 o'clock every morning, then Sunday would be clean and feed only. But we're asking for your support so we can make this, again, more supportive to the animals and more supportive for the public.
Okay, comments or questions by board members for Mr. Forster? I think it's good you're extending the hours in the afternoon for people to come in, get off work.
Especially on Saturday.
Yeah, that's
correct. Extended hours.
That's what we did. We screened the public and asked some of them and other agencies what works better, and that's what we heard more of those after hours, and especially the Saturdays coming in.
I think you've got a brand new energetic staff.
They are very energetic, and they match the animals that are there. They're energetic.
That's good.
And hey, listen, your new that play, I call it play area for the dogs.
Yes, sir.
And that's great. That when we toured that the other day, that was real impressive. The work has been done there.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you to all the animal rescue groups, because he made a comment over 500. The animal rescue groups, they have really helped our department out down there, and it just, I'm going to record say that a lot of what's happening, good things, is they've got a hand in, they're involved in it. And so thank them on behalf of the board.
Sure will.
We do appreciate all of their help and the partnerships we have with them.
Are those weekend, are those rotational hours for employees, or is that?
They are. Currently they are. We are in the process now of retaining a part-time staff member so that we could have them come in specifically on the weekends. There needs to be a clear rotation with the process of the animal care and the animal welfare so that they get a break to stay energized like they are now. And that Saturday and Sundays is where we're looking for the part-time staff to come in to give our full-time staff relief.
You guys sure did make a smooth transition.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you, it's your operation, you know what's best down there, so I'm with you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, do I hear a motion regarding the hours?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, Terry, go with the second.
Thank you so much, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
The second half of our conversation, we'd like permission to enter in discussions with Holland and Hamrick. We'd simply like to be able to take the existing building, the existing drawings, which we have on hand, and enter into discussion with them about how can we extend or improve that existing building. We have already completed the city sewer tie-in. We were thinking ahead when we done that. And we have about 25 feet on the left-hand end of that building that there are 2 double doors that were built originally. And we could possibly be able to come off that left-hand side, and there's about a couple of key things that we want to look at, along with the state inspector's recommendations and saying, here's items you need to look towards. When you travel in the shelter now, you enter into a visitation area for where the cats are, and then you enter into a dog area. Neither one of those now are we able to isolate two things. Bite area, bite holes are in that area now, so we need to isolate bite holes, and we need to isolate canine or feline, either one, that are being treated medically. We need to be able to separate them and pull them to the side so that they're not exposed to the other animals or to the public that's coming in. One of my worst fears when I first got involved was, what am I taking home to my pets that I could contract from over here and take home to my pets? So it's been a good learning process to knowing that we need to isolate certain animals. The other issue is where new animals come in, stray, hold, or law enforcement picks up animals and bring in. The only thing they can do is brief information, where we found the pet, what we know about it, do we know an owner, we do a microchip read, and that's it. They cannot perform any kind of medical exam because they're not educated enough to do thorough. That's what our staff does. So we need an isolation area. When those stray animals first come in, an isolation to hold them, give them food and water, safe conditions, dry environment, till we can do an assessment and know they're not coming in with parvo, they're not coming in with respiratory.
So you're talking about just an expansion of the current building?
That's it.
Okay, with some of that expansion of the current building?
That's it. We just want to enter
Comments,
into
questions?
with Holland and Hamrick, just to look.
Make most we let them go forward and look at it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. You got a 5-0 vote to expand.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support so much.
Based upon information coming back, of course. The architect being top consultant. Okay, thank you, Terry, for all you do. Great information. Let's move now to our new business. This would be administrative items, item D. Mr. Wood.
Thank you. This is our housekeeping item, of course. I'll go through, and again, it helps if we do votes separately for each. The first, this is a Toolcraft Building Reuse Grant Project Budget Ordinance. This is where we're assisting the Toolcraft Company with the building renovation through state funds and county.
Okay, comments, questions?
Motion to approve.
Thanks.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
You do have 3 NEVA water system leak adjustment requests, $16.68, $69.90, and $15.68. And I think you can approve all those.
Move we approve.
So, discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, like sign.
The next item is the transfer station fee waiver request. It appears several trips a couple years ago were coded through the lawn company. So it's an employee error. I would ask you to waive that.
Move we approve.
Second.
No discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Uh,
Opposed, like sign.
You have 2 emergency-related items. The first is an authorization for Mr. Keller to apply for another hazard mitigation grant. This would be for a generator on the 221 North EMS substation that's under planning.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, like sign. Okay.
The next item is the second reading for the overtime policy for emergency response. You'll recall we needed to tweak the language in that policy to match FEMA's reimbursement requirements.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion approved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, like sign.
The next item, you've authorized previously the purchase of several vehicles. for several of our departments. This is the financing for these vehicles. BB&T provided the lowest rate at 2.32% over 4 years.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, like sign.
Coming down the home stretch here, EMS has non-collectible account write-offs for your approval.
Move we approve. Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign.
Then the last bunch are budget amendments, GF 8 through 15. I can read those if you would like.
Are there any specific questions about 8 through 15? If not, what's pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve GF 8 through GF 15.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Now, for everybody who just watched all that occur, we could do that with one motion, but staff requests specific motions individually. And all the information that we just approved, the board has had the opportunity to look at that, review the documents, do our homework. So we're in here just to officially take care of that tonight. So I want everybody in the room to know, anybody watching, that that took about 4 to 5 minutes max, and a lot of approvals and votes there. But it's been items that we had reviewed and understood. And commissioners get the budget, I'm thinking budget. Commissioners get the agenda about 5 days in advance of the meeting. And so we have opportunity to call and get specific questions individually, and we may need answered also. So just so everybody knows that we don't just haphazardly, sporadically, just say motion second and vote. It's all a process that's been reviewed and looked at for the record. So looked at. Now, let's move to the next item. This would be item E under new business. This concerns the Old Fort Recreation Properties lease discussion. And I'll say as we get started on this one real quick, that staff is currently reviewing all our recreational facilities. They're looking to come back to the board in November and give an update and a completely accurate assessment of what we've got. No fluff and puff. If things are broke, it's going to be on the report, and we're going to assess it and move forward and looking at different programs we offer. And anybody watching, if you've got something recreationally that you would like to see the county doing, let us as commissioners or our staff know. If you've got an issue with the facility, we may not be at that particular facility and understand to know what's going on with it. Let us know. We want to make sure our stuff is done right. Our facilities are operational and functional and clean and to what people want. And we want to offer programs that people want to take part in. And so, with that being said, Mr. Luke, lead us out.
All right, thank you. So this is related to properties owned by the town of Old Fort in their jurisdiction. So back in 2008, the town approached the county with, I guess, an offer to lease the properties there on Catawba River Road. So this is the ball fields there on that road, as well as the swimming pool. They were unable to continue the maintenance of the facilities at that time, so they approached the county and asked that the county assume maintenance of those properties for a 10-year period. We did discover, doing some research for this topic for recreation, that at least did expire. And so before we go back to the town to present a document for renewal, since it is their property, just wanted to review the topic with you. You do have a copy of the lease that had been in effect, and just ask for direction on if you'd like us to proceed like this was, or change it, or what have you.
All right. Comments or questions? I know that I did receive a call about the Old Fort rec area, and said currently it needed repairs done to it, and staff has been on site there already, and staff is working on fixing that area up. For the record, we did receive a grant. How many years ago actually again?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Cape Urals.
Mm-hmm. And that money was applied there in fixing items. Comments, questions about this lease? You can approve it, you can modify it, you can say, town, have fun, run the rec department. It's what we're going to do.
Well, I think, personally that the town of Gulfport probably needs a little help from us on maintaining it and keeping it going. I don't think a lot of people understood that the lease had run out, and I think that brought a lot of questions to the table, but it's just my opinion.
It's my understanding that, again, that lease expired 2008?
18.
18?
18.
Okay.
But somebody has already looked at it about repairs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Someone had discussed with me that it needed some repairs.
So under item 15, where it talks about attorney's fees, we would be the prevailing party, is that correct, because we're leasing? That was my one question, that it says attorney's fees in case suit should be brought for recovery of the premises or for any sum due hereunder, or because of any act which may arise out of possession of the premises by either party, the prevailing party shall be entitled to all costs incurred in connection with such action, including reasonable attorney fees. So we'd be the prevailing party,
Would be whoever won the suit on it.
If we were sued or,
because we lease it, so with the town, it's the town's property, but we lease it. So he prevails, us, as leasee or leaser.
It might not be us or the city that brought the suit, it could be somebody else.
That's what I was saying.
So that would be,
whoever wins the,
if they won, they'd be the prevailing party.
What I understood was they gave it to us and then they're leasing it back from us. Is that not correct?
no, the town owns the property and they're leasing it for,
So it's their property, we're just paying the lease.
We do all upgrades, maintenance, improvements on their behalf per this lease agreement. The only thing I don't mind a bit to the town, this board's all about partnerships, cooperation, getting on with people, and that's what we try to do. The only thing I can see is just the term. A lot can happen in 10 years. I prefer a shorter term. 5 year, I know that we talked with, I think Pepsi was the one that was doing the agreement for the scoreboards on parks and stuff, and they said, 5 years is all they want to go. I think Pepsi goes 5 years on their scoreboard, so we ought to think about 5 years maybe on the lease and not go 10 years out. I mean, who knows what can happen in 10 years. The economy's doing great, jobs everywhere right now. Who knows, 9 years from now, it may be terrible. The economy may be in the tanks. We're barely paying the bills as a county, and we may want them to have the park back. Come on, say.
Would it be agreeable to just have the county manager take that back to the town and see if they would agree to the 5 years instead of 10?
I'm all right with it, whatever the board decided.
I'm good with it.
is that a motion? That's your question.
No, I think that we need to table it till next month and let you go back and see what the town has to say.
Okay, right?
So that is a motion.
That is.
Yeah, okay. All right, you got your direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we've got,
Is that by consensus or?
I thought it was by consensus, so it was a motion.
I made a motion.
Okay, motion, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, now let's go to our next item. This would be citizen comment. We've got everything covered on our appointment schedule minus our 5 o'clock. Well, let's go ahead and get our 5 o'clock. It's 5:05. So this is the Carson House update. And once again, our board always, as a commissioner, we meet here once a year, and this is one of my favorite meetings of the year. Getting to come here and this historical house and the history. If there's a show on the HGTV, if walls could talk, imagine what could be said if these walls could talk right here. But anyway, on March 13, 1843, 17 justices of the peace gathered at this house, of Colonel John L. Carson to elect the government of the new county, being McDowell County. The current tradition of our board is to meet at the Carson House. This was started on August of 1991, and due to the heat, it was moved October 92. It must have been hot back then. So this is the 28th year that we've met here, and as a Board of Commissioners, and a very special meeting. And we do have our directors for the Carson House with us tonight. They're going to come and introduce themselves, and just an honor to be here. And one thing they do, the Carson House provides a meal for the board afterwards. And the last couple of years, we've had a motion in regard to that meal. Or, will I hear a motion again this year? Okay, motion for the county to pick up tab on the meal, and I heard a second. Discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay, Mr. Abernathy, come on in, sir.
Where should I?
Right here's your imaginary podium, my friend.
I have with me Martha Jordan. I refer to her as MJ because she's a superstar. Thank you and welcome to the historic Carson House, and appreciate your continuing the tradition that was begun that many years ago, about 29 years ago, I guess, of meeting here. We appreciate it, and we welcome you. We have quite a number of board members that are gathered about, and another group of volunteers that are referred to as the partners of the Carson House. I often call them the friends, getting them confused with the library. So, welcome, Chairman Walker. After that meeting took place in March, it took a little over 2 years to construct the courthouse on the same location that the courthouse is currently located. And so the meetings of the governing body and the business of county government was conducted out of this house during that 2-year period. And so your tradition, I really hope that all of you just kind of soak in what that means and the importance of it. Because county government was not only formed here, but was conducted here for 2 years. And it's really a real special tradition. Fast forward a couple of hundred years. And we greatly appreciate the assistance that we receive from you. We have done a great deal. It's going to be impossible to go through all of it, but a few of the items, and then Martha will cover a few, and then I'll cover another item. We accomplished 3 really large, meaning expensive items here at the Carson House over the last year. We appeared before you a number of months ago about a chimney that was leaning and that was threatening separating from the building, pulling the wall and the hearth with it. That chimney has been replaced. We received a grant, your funding, and some TDA funding to do that. The house was painted, minus the one side over here on Buck Creek, but the 3 sides of the house was painted, and then a major repair to the upstairs porch was accomplished this year. So the house is really in good condition and good shape, and we appreciate the help that you have given for that. Martha, do you want to pick up?
We really do appreciate the support that the county commissioners have given us, and the support of the community. And one of my goals is to try to give back to the community as much as possible. And I just wanted to mention some things that you maybe weren't aware of. Each year we welcome students from the county schools to come, and we provide them with Living History Day, and they have a great time. This year we actually incorporated pre-visits to go into the classrooms ahead of time so that they could learn about things that they would be seeing in addition, and we're doing follow-up activities with them. The event that we did on the 75th anniversary of D-Day with the veterans was a great success. I continually get great comments from the public, and visits from some of those veterans that are still living, that's still coming by, to share things and say hello. And one of the projects that I want to continue with those is to do some video and audio projects with those living veterans before they're gone. So that was a great event, and I appreciate all of you coming to that. It was very meaningful. But we're, continuing to do things for the county. Coming up just before Christmas, we offer our Christmas tours, candlelight tours, the first weekend in December, which will be free of cost to McDowell County residents. So I'd encourage you all to come. It's a lovely presentation, and it's a different story in the house, but everyone is just real excited about that. We also do another event in June. We host a car show, and we do not charge for that, but all the proceeds go to the scholarship fund in McDowell High School. So that's just a little tidbit of some of the things that we try to do to give back to our community. And we have so many people that have started coming because they get help with genealogy, their family history. They're coming for other things and to see. So we're real proud of this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Real quick, one of the things that we are looking at doing, no decision has been made. It's always important to say that. We would be 3 years off if we made a decision to proceed, but there is a discussion of constructing an interpretive center on the back of the Carson house. Carson house is located on the fauna flora trail right in front of it. And so there is an interest in evaluating an interpretive center. And in order to do this interpretive center, an archaeological study has to be done underneath where the proposed structure would go. So one thing we're interested in is to kind of receive feedback from people on how much support for something like this there would be after we finalize what it looks like and what it would entail. The archaeological study, the Carson House Board approved proceeding with that study next year, and it will basically take place in the back of the house. And an archaeologist from Warren Wilson College has been approved to do this. There will be a real significant student involvement and public school system involvement. And again, some of the board members are here. Crystal is here, who's with the school system, so she'll be around and you can talk to her. But we will have a historic Homes of Marion Christmas tour that will be designed. There'll be more coming out on this that we'll hold in December, but that will be a fundraiser that we will do in order to pay for the archaeology study that will take place next year. So we're excited about that, and we're looking forward, not just backward. Okay. Questions? Oh, and we've got one more thing that we would like to present to you in appreciation. Arthur, you want to?
On behalf of the board, staff, and partners of the Carson House, we would like to present the board with a print of the Carson House. So thank you very much.
Very nice.
Very nice. That is beautiful. We'll have to put that in a very prominent place in the county building, Mr. Wood.
Yes, sir. In a nice frame.
Thank you so much for that.
I know a local business. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Martin did a great job in your board. Hats off for all you did, volunteers. Okay, this time let's move to our next item on our appointment schedule, and this will be citizen comment. Now, we have the sheet. Now, if you're here and you wish to speak tonight, just come up here and sign this, write your name and your topic, okay? So anybody in the room over here wants to sign up, or out in the lobby or vestibule, come on up and sign. Now, with that being said, let's go to the next item. This will be Commissioner Staff Reports Communications. Mr. Wood, anything that we know? Our clerk does an excellent job in keeping us informed of items and events and things, so anything you need to add, or commissioners?
Just a brief note for next month. I think we've talked about this, but the November meeting would fall on Veterans Day. And so we would ask maybe formally that it be moved to the following week in honor of that day. I think it'll be November 18th, it'll be the subsequent Monday.
Okay, by consensus, is that agreeable to the board?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so be it. All right, commissioners, anything? If not, let's go ahead and we'll have, sorry. Chuck? When did you hear? Good evening, y'all. Is he here? He is. That's what I was looking for.
Dr. Haney.
Okay, we've covered everything on the agenda for tonight, minus adjournment. But before we adjourn, we have Dr. Haney. He's been associated with the Carson House for many years. Historian, man of just general knowledge, and a very affable man who has been a great resource for McDowell County over many years. Dr. Haney, we're honored to be here in the house tonight. And would you do us a favor of saying the blessing for the food?
Let us pray. O God, our help in ages past, and our hope for years to come. We give you praise and thanks for all the blessings of this life, for our nation, for this county, that you have bestowed upon us in our long journey toward the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have blessed us with leaders in times past and in the present. Grant, we pray thee, a portion of thy divine wisdom as they continue to lead us. Now bless unto us this food and drink which we are about to receive through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Do you hear a motion to adjourn? Second. Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. It is adjourned.